and welcome to another of the Leadership Development webinar series that we are providing to you to support you through the school year and beyond. Our webinar series takes place every first Wednesday of the month, and our topic today is a hot topic. We know as PTA leaders how recruiting members is sometimes a challenge, and more so a bigger challenge in the era of COVID-19 and a third year of a pandemic that we've learned a lot of lessons from and have grown to be better leaders because of facing the challenges that it has presented to us. So today we're talking about addressing membership recruitment as well as keeping families engaged. We have some of the best leaders on the New York State PTA governance team sharing their expertise as well as ideas for boosting membership and family engagement during this time. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce members of the leadership development team of New York State PTA. With us is Jackie Wilson. If you can wave, Jackie, our leadership training specialist, who is very instrumental and guiding the rest of us in picking topics that are relevant for you for training as well as support of our leaders across the state. And our leadership training coordinator, our leadership development coordinator, Rob Rijos, who will take it from here.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. So I'd like to introduce our presenters today. Again, as Amani said, they're very experienced, and this will be a very informative webinar. Our first presenter is Lisa Sokov. She is the current, her current PTA roles include New York State PTA Family Engagement Coordinator. She's also the Nassau Region PTA Assistant Director, and she's at the Calhoun High School PTSA President. Current PTSA committees include resolutions, DEI, legislative summit, and her past positions include New York State PTA special education specialist, Nassau Region PTA special education chairperson, Nassau Region PTA education chairperson, Old Mill Road PTA president, and Norton Merrick SEPTA president. Lisa lives in Nassau region and her husband and has 3 school-age sons. Our next presenter is Mary Sotomayor. She's happily married, mom of 2 gorgeous girls. She is the membership coordinator for New York State PTA. Her responsibilities include increasing the number of people who support the children as New York State members at all levels. She is a full-time career marketing and allows her to add input and value into New York State PTA market, brand, and promote our association's mission. And prior to her appointment as membership coordinator, she served on the governance team as the marketing specialist and is an officer of a local unit in the Suffolk region. And our third presenter is Renee Daniels. First joined PTA in 2009. Her son's after her son's school became a charter school. Her home PTA is the Golden Knights PTA. She's been there for 7 years, elected as unit treasurer, secretary, and vice president. She's held fundraising event and chaired them. Her favorite is obviously the membership chair. She's served on committees with bylaws, audit, and nominating committees. In 2015, she joined the Leatherstocking Region PTA as the region membership chair, and she's been region director. She was region director from 2017 to 2020, and currently the region secretary and membership chair. And she is also our convention technology assistant. She lives in Marcy with her husband and 2 sons. Again, thank you and welcome to all the presenters.
Amani and Rob, are we ready for our presentation?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rob. And I just want to mention that our executive director, Kyle Belkowitsky, is with us. You hear her great voice in the background, so show us your pretty face if you can. And also our president, Dana Playton, has joined us this evening, has sent you a welcome in the chat. We want you to continue to use the chat throughout the presentation, but the first part of our presentation is pre-recorded, so we will be answering some questions in the chat, but also holding off on answering some till the presentation itself is over, and then we'll engage live with some of our presenters as well. So yes, Kyle, thank you very much, but I'm not sure if you want to wave or if Dana is visible. Otherwise, we're ready to start.
Great, we're going to hop right in. Dana, do you want to say a few words? Are we ready to roll?
Just wanted to say hi to everybody. I have a little laryngitis, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet, but I'm glad you're all here, and I'm excited to learn a little bit on how to engage families and boost membership. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for tuning in.
Fantastic. I know Dana and I are both suffering from colds, so we are going to stay off camera tonight. So I'm going to start the presentation.
I totally forgot about that. Forgive me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Sotomayor. I'm the membership coordinator for New York State. And tonight in our presentation, we're going to be learning about a couple of things, not just family engagement, but how to incorporate membership. What we're going to be covering in this session is virtual and face-to-face events, how to promote membership in person, how to promote membership virtually, surveys, and at the end, we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A. Hey, Lissa, did you want to tell us? Sorry, Lissa, go ahead.
It's okay. Hi, I'm Lissa Zukoff, and I'm the Family Engagement Coordinator for New York State PTA. So transformative family engagement is a shared effort of families, schools, and community leaders to advance programs, practices, and policies that empower every parent to make their child's potential a reality. So if we go to the next slide, you're going to see the 4 principles of transformative family engagement. And we're going to be working with a lot of these tonight. First one is inclusive, which is embracing and valuing diverse perspectives. Individualized, meeting the unique needs of every family and child. Integrated, connecting and aligning with the educational system. And impactful, empowering families to support their child's success. It may seem intimidating, but it is not. And it is something that we do every day without even realizing it. In some ways, we can do this even when we're not together. We can do this while we're home. For example, we can have some interactive social media prompts. If we have on our Facebook page, if we put out something that we think everybody would have an opinion on that's exciting about the school, perhaps a picture of your pet, something that makes people involved and active, or a newsletter that shares all kinds of information, and some informal meetups or free events, at the playground after school, something very casual. Some common activities the whole community can do is cooking. So I'm going to share with you some ways that we can use cooking to work both virtually and in person and for all different kinds of age groups. For example, let's say we're in elementary school. We could have all kinds of events. You could do a free event where we gave an ingredient list in advance and let everybody come together on Zoom to cook together. Or we could do it as a fundraiser where we gather a bunch of ingredients together and have people assemble them at home. That's done now virtually. If you want to do something in person with elementary school, have something partially prepared, perhaps pizza dough with some toppings, ways that they can work without it taking too long, but still have fun together. Maybe in middle school, you can build on that. Obviously, all of those work for middle school, but perhaps add something special like a prize or posting on social media, a way to encourage interaction. But we keep building on it. High school, make a little more complicated decorations. Maybe something on prepared goods, or if you ask a local bakery, if they'll come help teach how to decorate a cupcake, and bring the cupcakes, and then have different things and toppings to put on the cupcakes, or a cookie. Something that's fun, but also won't, again, they don't have time, obviously, to cook in the school wherever you're holding this event. But it can also easily be done at home. You can make little goodie bags with some toppings, some sprinkles, and some ways for people to do this at home. And then we can pivot and do this with adults. Again, in person or virtually. Have treats that are themed to an upcoming holiday. Perhaps something like a special person and me baking event instead of a dance, because those aren't really happening right now. Encourage faculty to attend and be a part of this, because it's always so much fun to have our whole school community together. You can, if it's a certain time of the year, you can work on maybe the senior parents doing graduation themed, year cookies for their children. Well, however you want to take it, these are just suggestions, but you could see how flexible it is and how many fun ways we could take cooking. We could do it in person, we could do it virtually, we could do it every single grade. And by involving other members of the community, again, a local baker, our teachers, our parents, our students, we are really engaging all our families. And of course, that's always going to have a positive effect on our membership, right, Mary?
Absolutely. Whenever we're doing these events, you always want to make sure that we're reaching out to our parents and letting them know about it, right? So one of the best ways that I found to connect with your members or possible members is to place your event on Facebook, meaning it's almost like a save the date. So on this particular slide, which you'll be receiving, we give you a step-by-step on how to create a Facebook event on your page for a reminder for your parents. You want to use the Facebook event to open the door to membership. Not only are you reminding your parents that you're having this particular event, but you're also asking them, hey, if you haven't become a member yet, you might want to think about joining. Okay, so you want to keep these things in mind. You want to make sure that you're asking and providing. You're asking them to join and you're providing them with a direct link. Lisa, I heard you have some awesome tips about crafting. Can you tell us about that?
I would love to. I do want to make sure that we discuss how important it is that all these events should be really, especially if they're virtually, engaging with people who are at home, whether it's hybrid or whether it's purely virtual. So try to make it as accessible as you can, certainly having some microphones, making sure everybody can hear. If you're holding it somewhere in the school while other people are watching, see if the school can loan you a smart board so that you can really have people be a part of everything. And certainly make sure if somebody is speaking that they're facing the camera, so those who are at home can absolutely see what's going on. Let's talk about crafting. We'd love to do that. So let's say it's the fall. I'm going to pick that theme now. We're going to think of some different ways that we can craft, both at home and at school or at a PTA event, and also virtually or in person. So for example, elementary school, you paint pumpkins, possibly get some donated from a local garden store. And if it's done in school, it could be done during a class party, part of a fall festival, however you want to do it. They can paint them, or they can use stickers if you don't want to get too messy. It really is flexible to how you want to do it. If you're going to have them at home, you could send the children home with pumpkins with perhaps a paintbrush and some stickers or paint. Inexpensive ways to decorate it, but it's a lot of fun. Don't send glitter home. I don't think the parents would love you for that one, though. Inexpensive picture frames. Those are always a hit. So if you're doing those in school, and if you're sponsoring something school-wide, see if somebody has a printer that they can let children print out, like Polaroids or, pictures right away to put in those frames. Because how nice it is to have a child personalize a frame and then put their smiling face inside it. Now, those same things, of course, can go up to middle and high school, but you can also update it a bit. And if you want to do something about giving back, let them get some fall colored socks, different brightly colored socks. And if you stuff them, you can bring them to a local animal shelter as toys for the animals, which always makes everybody feel good, and who doesn't love animals? Or they can make Thanksgiving cards for seniors in a local home, or a senior project for seniors in high school. If you want to have it on hand, then you have the supplies and the decoration baggies with a little of everything, so they can do it at home. And you can either have them work independently, or you could do it via Zoom for them to enjoy each other's company. And maybe think about having social media contests, because everybody loves to show off what they've done. And you could even ask the principal if it's okay to have pictures displayed at school. You never know. For adults, maybe try partnering with a local craft store. They are, especially after the pandemic started, they do send home. They make kits that people can purchase and come home. Or they're starting to have some in-person events. You have to do what's right for your community. But those are all exciting options. And again, we're engaging with the community and with the parents. These are fun seasonal things, a door wreath, a welcome sign, whatever is fun. But people love to create and then have something to remember what they did. And again, it always comes back. You can have a positive effect on your membership. Right, Mary?
Right. I can't wait to put all those pictures of my crafting on my Facebook event that we just talked about. Renee, what do you think we should do? Virtual, face-to-face? What are we looking at?
Well, there's benefits to both. I personally, love the idea of a virtual event because everybody can take part in this event. It's easier to get a broader, more wider audience. But again, though, face to face, it's always nice to hang out with friends and chat in a low-key environment. So whether or not you're virtual or in person, one of the great things that you can do is have your QR code available for people to quickly scan and become members if they haven't already joined.
Agreed, Renee. And for those of you who are not sure how to create a QR code, if you go to the website or page and right-click from your mouse, it'll enable you to create a QR code right there and then to download.
Wow, that's really good to know. Thank you guys so much. So now let's talk about literacy. So obviously, reading is fun, and we'd love to find ways to incorporate that into our home lives and into our school events. So one way to do with your PTA is have a book of the month. Obviously, you have to work with the staff and get principal approval because this is involving the school and during the day. But perhaps your PTA, once you discuss it with the staff and find the appropriate book, you supply one book for each teacher and maybe one to donate to the school library. And then share with parents some different lesson plans and some activities related to the book throughout the month. Ask the principal if maybe they'll read the book on YouTube or on a video so that the children who maybe aren't school age can hear what's being read and the parents can be a part of that discussion as well. This way, everybody in the family gets to enjoy it, even grandma and grandpa who may not live at home, or an uncle or a best friend, whoever is there. You can work with the specials teachers to see if there's a way to incorporate themes into the music, to art, to gym. There's just so much you could do with it. In middle school, maybe have the author visit. They come in with reading the books. They can build on that, talk about creative writing and ways to increase how they write. It could be poetry, it could be novels, whatever it is that sparks your child's interest. Certainly graphic novels are very successful, which combines crafts and art and literacy. So you've got it all. In high school, again, working with the principal, perhaps having some kind of a book club or a discussion and getting a little more into depth what the book is and what it means. Ask your local library if they can get extra copies of that book for the students. And sometimes the libraries will also find related books by that author or different books on similar themes for different ages, so the whole family can have a discussion. The sky is the limit. You just have to kind of think outside the box. And most of this can be done, obviously, at home, in person, however you want to do this. I would also maybe see if the library would sponsor for adults a monthly book club. You could all get together and discuss a different book. Maybe a local coffee house will donate some coffee so you can have a little something to drink while you talk about your books. Or is there a parent member who's an author or a teacher of English? Maybe help bring something new and to think outside the box. And during the summer, if your library does have a summer reading club, reach out to them. Perhaps you can give a special token to all of the children in your school who be so much fun, and it's all about literacy. And I have to add, as we have for English, we have picked a partner at the PTA into this type of literacy. In fact, they could do a readathon, which involves all kinds of people, both home and friends and family that live at home or away, and you can build on everything you want to do. So again, there's a lot of different ways to involve literacy and a lot of different ways to use this for all different kinds of age groups. The trick is just to start and see how far you can go. And I definitely recommend you collaborate and work closely with the school, because it's always exciting to see how far it can go when we all work together. I'm excited to hear what you have to say, ladies.
You know, I was just thinking with Literacy Night, what pairs better than a bookmark, right? And it would be so cool to get a bookmark that has a QR code that would help all of our members or potential members know where to go, right? You can stick it right on the bookmark, and put it right in those books.
That is awesome.
You know, with membership, one of the things that we always stress is that this is a group and team effort, right? And with this team effort, we want to make sure that all of the people that are helping with this event, all your members that are helping to put on this wonderful event, understand what their elevator speech is. You might be wondering, elevator speech, what does that mean? You want to know why you're a member. You want to know what the biggest benefit of being a member in your unit is. And you want to also express what the purpose of our association is, right? And you put all those things together, it's a conversation with a new parent, and you're telling them why it would benefit them to become a member. These are things you want to make sure that you remember and you know and you talk and you express to anybody that you can communicate with during your virtual event or your in-person event. Renee, do you agree? Like, what's your favorite elevator speech? What do you like to tell parents when you see them?
I like a mix of information. So I want to know, do I get free pencils for my kids for school supplies, or maybe I get a discount on Spiritware or a free yearbook at the end of the year. But I also kind of want to know about what the PTA does. There's a lot of things that PTAs do behind the scenes that most people don't get to see. So I want to know what kind of resources and programs that the PTA is bringing into the school.
Absolutely. All of the programs that we've just been talking about, all of these events, a lot of parents assume that it's the school that's doing these things, but we can PTA from anywhere. And if we let our parents know that these are things that the PTA is bringing to their community, why wouldn't they want to become members? Right, Lissa?
Why not?
So I think we've been talking about all these awesome things, all these awesome events. And I don't know about you, but when I get together with parents and I get to talk to them, not just about PTA, but just people, right? We miss people, right? And we have this wonderful event. We say, send a survey at the end of this event. First of all, when you send a survey, you find out, was this event successful? Did the community like it? Is this something that we want to make sure that we repeat? So now you've reminded the person that you're hoping will become a member or is already a member about all the fun they had with this in-person or virtual event. At the end, why not ask them, is there someone you would recommend to support our school that might not already be a member? That should be at the back of your survey. That way, when they're filling this out, they can already recommend somebody. And when you recommend them, you're not just cold reaching out to someone. You're saying, hey, I'm reaching out to you because our parents said that you were the best person to speak to about some of the things our PTA is offering. We'd love for you to become a member. Would you join if you were recommended, Lissa?
In a heartbeat.
How about you, Renee? Would you join if someone recommended you? Highly.
Absolutely.
So it's so Renee, I know you wanted to talk to us about some of the things that we have with virtual or reading notes.
Yeah. Let's see. Remember, virtual events is more than reading your slide or notes. Parents are taking their cues about your unit based on what they see with nonverbal cues. Make sure you are making everyone feel like they are welcomed.
Did that make you feel welcome when you heard Renee say it that way? No, right? So we want to make sure that we're not just giving verbal cues. We want to make sure that we're also giving facial cues if we're on Zoom, and we're also giving body cues when we're in person. You want to make sure that you're always smiling, you're always being inviting, and that you're not just looking like this on Zoom, okay? And when you're in person, what did you recommend, Renee?
In person, it's about engaging and inspiring parents to join. Use the energy and enthusiasm of your members. Involve parents, teachers, and students on your membership committee to promote PTA at your events.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, students can become members too. We have these events. We make these decisions. Why not make them a part of it? Offer membership to your children if they're old enough to sign their names, they can become members, and tell them, these are the things we're thinking about doing. What would you like to see us do? Have them be involved. Give them a reason to become members. With that, we wanted to say, here are some resources we have available for all of the things we talked about.
Here's a link for some more resources on family engagement.
We've got a link here for membership toolkits and award information.
And we have some great COVID-19 guidance.
This way we can put it all together, right, ladies? And without ado, we'd love for you guys to learn something from this presentation, take this back to your members, use it, apply it, and above all, we wanted to say, merci.
Thank you.
This was
Thanks again
awesome.
for that. Yes, it is. Go ahead, Monica.
Very nice presentation.
I'm going to be posting some links to the webinar and also where to find these and other webinars. And then while we start going through some of the questions.
So we've been receiving some questions through our chat, New York State PTA chat email prior to the presentation. And also started getting some questions in the chat box on this Zoom. So we'll start with the question in the chat box from Danielle. Danielle's asking, we have several special education classes at our elementary school. They're varying degrees as far as their needs. What's a good way to practice inclusivity in this type of setting where several classes are in the same room, varying in degrees of their needs? So not specifically a membership question, but still we have some of our leaders here that could answer this. Patty, you want to go at it?
Actually, I just want to say hello. I am representing our membership team members from the presenters, Mary and Renee, tonight. They weren't able to be on to do the questions, but I'm actually going to pass that question right over to Lissa because I think that is her expertise for sure.
Well, it's actually a great question. And I think that the best way to do it is actually just to mix the tables, to not have them divided up by ages or by levels, because everybody likes to have a partner, someone that they can help and someone that can help them. It's going to increase their confidence, and it's also going to, give you new skills. Obviously, as we're doing this, there are going to be adults spread around the room to help. But I think it's important to not separate, to actually truly integrate everybody into each other so everyone has a chance to be exposed to different styles of learning and different ways to do your art or whatever it is that you're working on together. It's a great question, though.
Super. Next question is from our emails. Rob?
The other, I don't see a question on the, maybe they put it on the personal chat. But
Yes,
Lisa,
it's in the
what
group.
are, yeah, so Lisa, what are some ideas for virtual speaker topics?
Well, the sky is the limit, but what really works with virtual speaker topics is get something that's going to get people obviously involved. Because if it's only listening to somebody, but there's no reason to be engaged, people might get a little bit bored. So what's fantastic is to have somebody speak, but perhaps have a little bit of something with the interactivity. I love reaching out to our own teachers, especially those who maybe teach the gifted programs, because they have different ways of thinking and may have something interactive that the children can do or that adults can do while they're watching. We've also recommend having something about families, because we're all working on our own families. It doesn't only have to be about parenting. It could be about the relationships between parents or supporting other siblings. So it's always exciting to think outside the box. And even our own PTA did a great, the New York State PTA did a great event last year with family engagement. We had somebody come and do some sports, and they did some soccer and volleyball. My children had a lot of fun with that. So as long as we're thinking differently, we can really do almost everything we did in person. We could figure out a way to do it virtually.
So our leaders are asking, what if we can't meet in our school building? What if the school building is not accessible still to parents to hold meetings and events? What are other suggestions for meeting outside in person?
I'll jump in on that one if that's okay. So number one, we want to just remind everybody that your PTA is not limited to your school building. So we all have our insurance coverage that allows us to meet in a variety of places. So we can find a local community center if they're open for the spacing and COVID guidelines that you need to have an event. I'm actually just saw that a PTA in the area where I live, the school has allowed them to have a tent outside to hold their meetings. So even though, you know, like now the weather is sort of like, it could be nice, it might not be nice. They had their meeting just before it got dark outside in the tent, and that was on school grounds. But again, they were able to do that with a lot of distancing. So there are opportunities, and we want to make sure that everyone is aware that you do have insurance coverage for wherever you might meet. One suggestion that we are really talking about with all of our age groups, but middle school and high school especially, is why not gather at one of your high school sports events, and not just the marquee sports like soccer and football, but maybe try, to gather at, Saturday morning at the cross country meet or at the field hockey game, and just have a brief meeting prior to that, or a brief activity, and then everybody can cheer on the team, and maybe everybody makes signs or some kind of fun event like that, just so that you are, joining the community, and the community is seeing the PTA there as well.
Thank you, Patty. And I think so. One of the other ones is when we think of the school community, we also think of the leaders of education and the principals, or the administrators, or professionals that work within the school buildings. So how do we do family engagement with those administrators or with those teachers? Should there be like a superintendent chat, or like, how do we engage those conversations to bring part of that community into the circle?
Well, I think actually one of the things you suggested is exactly perfect, the superintendent's or a principal's chat. Or as we spoke about during the presentation, if there's a reading, having the principal read a book that families can listen to at home, or it doesn't even have to be the principal, it could be the superintendent, it could be anybody. Having the teachers be a part of what the events that you do, so that the community gets to spend time with them is always an exciting way to have people come together. The truth is we're all part of the same community. And so I think though, a great way to have this interaction, to have them coming into your home, is to definitely utilize social media, to utilize videos, to utilize Zooms, because we all get to know each other in a very different way. We're very up close and personal right now, aren't we? We have a chance to really talk and communicate. So take advantage of those times. And of course, we should always be respectful of each other. It's the best way to communicate.
And Alyssa, along that discussion of having guest speakers, or whether virtual or in person, what are some topics that you have found draw attendance of parents and the interest of the most number of parents coming in to attend and participate?
Well, and you can go in different ways. There's obviously, if we're going to go towards learning topics, or there's quote unquote fun topics. But I think that parents right now are eager to learn. And they're especially interested in things to help them with transitions, dealing with unstructured time, because we all do have a lot of that, especially as the holidays and winter is coming upon us. They also, mental health is a major issue. Reach out to the school counselor or the social worker and ask them to give a presentation or to give suggestions, because it's a major concern right now. So bringing that information, those people share with your children during the day, but they know your kids. So they know what the parents need to hear. And also bullying, it's a very big issue right now, because a lot of the children don't realize what happens online affects you in person. So all of the internet manners that we've discussed, anything like that is important to bring home. And that's what parents keep wanting to ask for, because they're struggling on their own to try to help their families with this.
And if I could just add to that, I think one of the things when we framework out this webinar and what we were going to talk about, one of the things that was at the forefront was the mental health of all of our families, from parents, guardians, all the way down to preschooler and non-attending school yet, the whole entire family, and the school community. And really what we wanted to present was the idea that COVID and the restrictions we had for it gave us a more of a view of laid back but good family engagement. So again, doing activities that weren't expensive, or that we had to be running around and carpooling and dropping off and doing all of that. We really wanted to put forth just some ideas, especially elementary school. We know we can always count on our families. We can always count on a successful event there, no matter what we're doing, from the very simplest, come in and chat with the principal, all the way up to, the full on themed carnival that goes on for hours, and there's prizes and surprises and all of that. But we know that sometimes at the middle school and the high school, we don't, that drops off a little, but that's one of the advantages we've had with COVID is people are able to participate now, and we wanted to bring back and bring those suggestions forward of don't ignore this cooking and don't ignore crafts or reading or any of those types of activities. Your children, no matter their age right now, need to stay connected, and they want to stay connected to you, and they want to stay connected to their friends. And so by doing these activities that don't take a lot of investment, just take a little planning time, we really think are going to be great ways for families to connect, again, at the middle school and high school level, where, it does tend to be the students who don't want to have mom or dad or other guardians around. But even if you decide to do activities on two separate, platforms, the parents and guardians on one and the students on another, it's still everybody's working towards doing the same thing. So that's really, the aspect of the mental health and just the connectivity of being around other people is really what we wanted to framework this webinar about.
If I can add just one thing, because this is what we've been doing. We've been building, right? We're on each other's ideas. Reach out, SEPTAs and PTAs, we all need to work together. So we all have the same community. So a big part of this is using the resources that we have. and working together to get that information across. So nothing applies only to one family or one population. It's all important to all of us. So working together, we can get that information out to all parents. And perhaps by pooling our time, our talents, our resources, we can bring something to the whole community. With many hands make light work, working together. So don't discount your local other schools, maybe in your district working together, and certainly your SEPTAs as great resources and partners in what you're trying to do.
Okay. Patty, I wanted to follow up. Mental health is it's at the forefront, right? Because of COVID and a lot of the, what's happening today amidst, post-COVID. So as a PTA, then how would we try to engage either school counselors or other professionals, right? Because I guess if I approach the school or the superintendent or the principal, they might say, well, that's out of time, or we can't connect the parents directly, or is this a PTA event? So how do I kind of really work around those criteria? Because I really like what Lisa said, that mental health, and because we have a virtual platform, we should be trying to reach as many families as we can. So what would be a strategy to try to either work around some of the obstacles that PTAs may encounter, whether it's, proprietary information, or we can disclose that information? Is it through advertising, or what are your thoughts?
So, in all of what we do as PTA, and as all of what we do, especially for membership, there is just one 3-letter word that is the starting point, and that is the ask. So again, formulate what it is you want to do and be intentional about it. So again, you want to be able to reach out to your parents or your audience and on the topic of mental health. Maybe let's be a little more specific. How to deal with balancing homework with virtual class, or those types of things. So be very intentional about your ask, and then start it always at the principal and see, and explain. Of course, as PTA, we are one of the strongest partners that most school communities have. So we let's work on that. Let's credit our advocacy that we have been doing and our support of the school community, and kind of first make the ask. And then if we can't do that with the school community in live, recording is the next best thing. So perhaps if we want to have the parents hear about strategies to help their students and their mental health, and we need to run that at night, but the counselors are only available during the day, maybe they can tape for us. And I know that's not the most 100% ideal, but it's better than nothing. So we can, work with the school administrators to do things at the best time for the guests that we want to have, the speaker. And then of course, there's a lot of community agencies that we can reach out to as well. We don't have to limit ourselves to the school. So most of our counties have a mental health arm that you can reach out to and see, which agencies are attached to your community and are doing work. And most of them are more than willing to join, at least via Zoom. So please, I know we want to get the experts on from our school, but if we can't, then the next step is there are some outside agencies. And that, as you know, the New York State PTA, we partner very strongly with the Mental Health Association of New York. So again, we rely on them, and they have provided some wonderful workshops for us. We have some mental health workshops that are already recorded that you can use to show as a starting point for parents then to have parents and guardians and families to have the conversations. So again, like we're doing here tonight, we limited what we wanted to present because I think we kind of frameworked it well so that we could have the conversations live and be able to chat with everybody about what the needs are.
Thank you.
Which is awesome. And you can never replace that one-on-one interaction that we're trying to have, and Zoom and the virtual world that we all learned to use during the past couple of years has really opened the way to have these conversations more frequently and more targeted on specific topics that our leaders have asked us to engage in discussing. One of the questions that we've received along that, and it's a loaded question, so you could both take a pick at it, has to do with, what events can we still conduct if access to the building is restricted, if there's a hybrid situation in the school building, or even an all virtual situation, because we're trying to really address across the state all different environments right now that are varying from one location to another. Can we still have PARP? Can we still have reflections this fall? Can we conduct a traffic safety fair or a health and wellness fair? What do you feel about all that?
Well, yes, and yes, you can do all that. Do we have to think of it differently? Yes to that too. But we have the outdoors, the great outdoors. Right now, the weather is beautiful. There's plenty of space to spread out, and on a nice day, the children can start to already work on their projects for reflections, or work on something for PARP, or just in any way get together as a community. You could do a scavenger hunt and have clues throughout that where people live in the neighborhood so that they could search for stuff in their own home. There are ways to integrate the home, the school, the great outdoors, and then of course, utilizing our local businesses. Many of them have really had to pivot during this time, and all of a sudden they've figured out how to bring their resources to your home. So reach out to them and see what they have to offer. Maybe the local craft store will hold a craft night party that either in the store or at home. Obviously, every safety first, but we can look at different ways to go about trying to make it happen. We can always utilize our public library. I keep coming back to it because it's one of our most valuable resources. They're a great way to share information with the community. They love to work with us, and they always have meeting rooms, and they have places that we can gather if we need to, obviously in a safe and appropriate manner. So it's important to listen to what goes on in your community. I've known some PTAs that have, gotten use of a local firehouse. It's all about asking and seeing what will work, but it can all happen. You can PARP at home, and you can PARP at school, and you can PARP at the library. Wherever you are, there's so many exciting ways. And if you're looking for ideas, definitely check out the New York State PTA website, because there's lots and lots of resources. Obviously, you can reach out to the governance team, and your region director is going to be a fantastic resource when you want to get local about what's going on in your area and what resources are accessible for you.
That's a good point, Lisa. That was another question. Is there, does PTA have a location where they can get some guidance on COVID and, going back to buildings and, some of the standards?
Do you want me to go with it? I'll go with it. So we have been doing a great job with the assistance of our office of keeping up our COVID-19 page that was started really right after the pandemic, started to shut us down. So we highly recommend that everyone still reach there for resources as far as ideas, guidance of how we can and should be doing things. So again, nyspta.org, and just there's a tab, a special tab for COVID-19. So the guidance is all there. But, one of the things that, for coming from the membership perspective on all of this is, again, reaching back to the connectivity. We are really starting to see some fabulous stories coming from our units related to membership. People started registering early, and I don't want to say often, but they've started registering early and we are really seeing some great growth in our membership. And we are also hearing reports from our units that once they put out the call to their members that they're looking for help. They're looking for members to come and support maybe an activity at school that the staff has asked for some extra support. And they're seeing not the same old names, but great new names. And we even had one unit that reported that they filled 30 slots for volunteers in less than 5 minutes of putting out the notice, which is highly unusual in their middle school. So really now is the time for us to really be thinking about our community and wanting to be connected. And one of the things we talked about in the presentation was setting up a survey. Surveys don't have to be long. They could just be a couple of questions. All of the region directors are familiar with setting up surveys. So again, a great resource to go to. You may be able to do them either by signing up for the free account through SurveyMonkey or on a Google form type setup just to get the input that you're looking for. And again, just ask people, again, what is it that you want to see? What are your suggestions of what we can do to bring our families together? There may be something out there that we're missing. So all of those things are working together to, again, bring people to see the value of PTA, the value that membership brings, because the way we can connect with people is through membership. Obviously we get their emails or their names and their contact information, so we can be sending them out information.
So how can we address parents or family members who are concerned about attending events if they're not in a school building or if they're not inside the school building? And if we're not welcome into the building, then they're unlikely to participate. How do we address that sometimes challenging thought process?
It's a tough thought process, and especially because at some level we understand it, right? It comes from a place of, it makes sense. But the fact is, PTA is not a building. We're a community. So, you know, we've learned a lot about being PTA flexible this year, and that's exactly what we want to share with the community, that we are flexible, that we could do yoga on the front lawn. We're still near the building. We're just not inside the building. We can move around, we can reach out to our community members, we can find the person in the school, you know, a parent in the school who has something to share or to offer. And the most important thing is to validate and let everyone understand, know that you understand, listen to their concerns, because you have to be responsive, because maybe there's a way we could incorporate this to make everybody feel comfortable. Because it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of coming to a place where we can all be together, we can engage, and we can feel welcome. And all voices should be heard.
That's definitely the most important piece of it, is you want people comfortable to be participating and to be part of an event. You don't want to be forcing anyone. You want them to feel at ease and to actually, you know, the general rule is we're all in need of one-on-one interaction. We've all been desperate and looking forward to it. So if you create a safe environment where that can happen, most likely you will have the participation of most individuals who will welcome being there in person in a safer type of setup, whether you're distancing, whether you're outdoors in fresh air, given the good weather, etc. So you need to create these environments that are welcoming and feeling safer for people, because everybody is in need of that one-on-one interaction. Rob?
Yeah, just excellent point, Lisa. Just to piggyback on that, and being PTA flexible. Also, I know because school buildings started to open up and PTAs would rather have in-person meetings, but we also have to acknowledge that we might not get the same participation that we did with the virtual. So, you know, doing some kind of hybrid model where you have in-person coming in and you can still provide that virtually as well is a good environment, as we spoke about, to provide a safe, you know, for those families that don't feel safe coming in person. So, you know, we definitely don't want PTAs to kind of go back to revert and saying, okay, let's try to do things the way we did in the past, because that's not necessarily the way things are and will be going forward. So that's a good point with PTA flexibility. Thank you.
Amani, I have a question. How can we connect with other PTA leaders? We have all these great ideas, so we can find out what worked with them, what didn't. Is there a place we can go to where, you know, PTA leaders are sharing their ideas?
Patty, would you like to go?
Sure. Well, I'll just jump in right away with this year. In response to this very question, we did create a separate Facebook group for New York State PTA leaders, which we encourage everybody to participate by just reading it or actually asking your questions there. We've had some great discussions, a lot of great sharing of information. So that's number one. If you are using social media, that's a great place to go. Second of all, again, can't stress enough the region directors and the work that they've been doing to make sure that their team with their associates, assistant directors, and their boards are really reaching out to their units in their area. Again, we have all of that too here at New York State. We are trying to, you know, again, through the webinar series that we've been running and the web chats to try to, again, bring another platform where people can ask questions. This platform, like any other, is a safe space. We're all among friends. So at no, you know, we're open for any questions. We're more than happy to, you know, answer. And if we can't, we will get back to the person asking or the group to let them know the answers. So I think that we encourage local districts, you know, if you have a council, even without a council, to reach out to each other. Leadership in PTA is, you know, something that we appreciate everybody doing, but we understand that it's taking time away from something else that you're doing. So if we learned one other thing during COVID is that it shouldn't just be one person in your PTA doing all of this. Let's get your executive committee on the same page, and let's really reach out to your board, make sure that you know who makes up your board and the chair people, and let's just spread the work around as Lissa said, you know, many hands light work. And you know, it's very easy to find the contact information for other PTAs in your school district. But if you want to find a similar cohort, for lack of a better word, and that's very popular in education right now, a cohort PTA that's like the same size and the same grades as yours, again, your region director can help, you know, connect you to those people. We hope everybody is sharing all their successes. We're thrilled to be, you know, sharing some of the successes of membership already that our team has found. We have just posted our first share of somebody who has created their membership thermometer to show, you know, their progress. So we're sharing that on the PTA leaders page on our website, and we really hope that everybody else is doing the same, because again, we're all in this together, and if somebody does have a great idea, why not share it?
So the loaded question of this evening is, how do we market membership and engaging families in this era? We at the New York State PTA governance team has full-blown sensed the importance and significance of the work PTA is doing during these challenging past couple of years, during the COVID pandemic. We realized our advocacy efforts have become more important than ever. Supporting our families and our leaders across the state has become more important than ever. Having a seat at the table at the state education department and on discussions regarding school reopening have never been more important. So we sensed it firsthand and lived it. How do we market the significance of PTA in the grassroots units? How can our leaders sell PTA to the rest of the families of their school building? What is the conversation that needs to happen? What do they need to present to them? Because they have been challenged by saying, if schools are closed, why do we need PTA? Like, we all know the answer. It's become more important and significant than ever in my life during all the years I've volunteered.
Well, I think the most important thing is to really think about it is just living it. We're walking the walk, right? So I have 3 children and they're all school age. And so when I'm speaking to my friends, when I'm posting on social media, I'm talking about what I'm doing in my life and what is going on with PTA and what PTA is doing for our community and our family. And when you're living that life and when you're sharing your experiences, people are also hearing it. And it's so much more organic than just advertising. Obviously, word of mouth and advertising is important, or you're not going to know to go to a specific event. But more than anything, it's being true to yourself and true to your community and showing that this is something that is meaningful and that it's important and that this is why it's happening and how it's affecting your family and your community in a positive way. And that makes people want to join, because everybody wants to improve, their families' lives and be a part of advocating for children and for change and for families. And there's just so much good in what we do. So I think if you really believe it, you can share it. And I do think we as leaders sometimes are too modest. We need to get on our Facebook pages. Like, I need to go on Facebook after this and share what we just talked about tonight and let other people know that this is happening and that there's this conversation and these resources are there for them, because that's the best way to share that information. And I really think the one word that Patty used before was intent. Do it with intent. Be very clear about what you're trying to share, because as long as we're being honest, true to ourselves and our community, only good things are going to happen for all of us.
Well, Alyssa, I couldn't have said that any better. So thank you. We're going to adopt you onto the membership team now. So yeah, exactly what Alyssa was saying, just like we did it in this workshop where we kind of layered things on, I think layering on about PTA is great for your reaching out to your community. So here's what we're doing at ABC PTA. In the last year, we, had 6 family events happen, and we had a garden day where everyone came and worked on, the plantings around the school. Let's talk about what we did locally, and then let's talk about, what maybe something happened in your wider community, your region. And then, of course, when you talk about seat at the table, we cannot prove it anymore that we had the seat at the table than during COVID, because we were, without question, the only parent group that was invited to and participated in the many committees and discussion groups about how we were going to move forward with education. We literally were the only ones. There was no other group. There was nobody else that has the structure that we have that allows that work in Albany. So, and also in Washington, but really let's talk about Albany, because that's what really matters most to people right now. So we have, again, the way to talk about, things that we can relate to locally, and then, the bigger picture. And as Lisa said, people want to join an organization that's doing something. That is mainly, and that is a changing mindset that we have among our parents and guardians, is especially like, what is happening here and how is this helping my child? And from there will spring to helping every child. So we're very mission focused, and any unit that stays mission focused for to help children really will bring the strength of their community to them that way. So that's important. And of course, we can't deny that we're celebrating in 1 month. We will be celebrating the 125th meeting of the New York State PTA. 125th annual. So that means 125 years. So we really have a legacy to stand on. And I think, that's another thing that we can be sharing. So we're 125, our 125th meeting. We just, and National PTA will be turning 125 in February. So it's a year of the 125. So we really need to let people know that we're just not resting on what we did 50 years ago or 100 years ago. We're still building, but we have things that we're building on. And so I think that's also should be another attractive way for people to see PTA. And I always talk about how long your PTA has been. That's always been one of my favorite things. I just was working with a PTA unit today that's been a PTA since 1925. So they have a long-standing tradition of supporting their community. And whether you just started a year ago or you started 5 years ago, celebrate that. Make sure that people know that you're just not somebody who just showed up. PTA just didn't show up. We're here and we're committed to making our school communities better.
As you just said, New York State PTA is one of the longest standing advocacy organizations and one of the longest standing PTAs in the country. We're extremely proud of our 125th anniversary coming up at our convention, November 19th to the 21st. We hope you all can join us. It's going to be in person in Syracuse, New York. Come celebrate our accomplishments and gear up to more accomplishments and more advocacy and work for the children and families. As you said, Patty, we are the only organized association, nonprofit that really expresses the needs and interests and advocates for children. There's no other. So there's a lot to sell here, and there's a lot to offer. And we cannot be modest, as Alyssa said. We need to brag about being a very important part of the advocacy and work for the families and children of New York State. So along that, I thank you so much for sharing your expertise and for always coming to share your ideas and to engage in conversations with our leaders. We thank everyone who joined us this evening, and we hope you continue to join us for leadership development webinars in the future every first Wednesday of the month. And we hope to see you at convention in Syracuse. And please stay in touch and let us know how we can support you and what other topics you'd like us to discuss. Thank you, Patty, and thank you, Alyssa. Thanks to the LD team, Rob and Jackie, for being here with us this evening, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.